My husband's calendar had a meeting titled Lunch with My Favorite Secret. Curious, I showed up at the restaurant. As he whispered sweet nothings to his colleague, I sat down at the table next to them. When he finally noticed me, I smiled and said, "Don't stop on my account." His mistress gasped as I pulled out my phone and hit record. This might get long, but I promise it's worth reading. I, 42 female, have been married to my husband, Mark, 44 male for 18 years. We live in Chicago, have 2 teenage kids, and for the most part, I thought we had a pretty normal marriage. We both work. I'm a nurse, and he's a project manager for a firm downtown. We've had ups and downs, like everyone else. Busy schedules, parenting stress, money stuff sometimes, but nothing I thought was serious enough to break us. Until a week ago. I wasn't snooping. I swear. I was in our shared home office looking for a USB drive. His work laptop was open on the desk. The screen was on, and his Outlook calendar was pulled up. One of the events caught my eye. Lunch with My Favorite Secret. It was scheduled for the next day, 12:30 p.m., at a little Italian place called Via Roma, a spot we used to go to back when the kids were little. Not a work lunch. Not a client meeting. Just that one line. Lunch with My Favorite Secret. At first, I thought maybe it was a surprise for me. Maybe something sweet. But then my stomach started doing this weird twisting thing, and I got this awful heavy feeling in my chest. I knew it wasn't good. I just knew. I didn't say anything to him. That night, he acted completely normal. We had dinner. He asked about my day. He watched TV. Nothing seemed off. But now that I was looking, I started seeing it, how he kept checking his phone when he thought I wasn't looking, how distant he'd been for weeks. The next day, I told him I was working a double shift at the hospital. I wasn't. I took the day off. At 12:15, I drove downtown and parked a few spots down from the restaurant. I wore sunglasses and tied my hair back. I know how paranoid that sounds, but I didn't want to get caught before I could figure out what the hell was going on. At 12:29, I saw him. Mark. Dressed nicer than usual. Smiling. And then I saw her. Tall. Brunette. Maybe mid-30s. Pretty, in that effortless way. She wore a navy dress and heels. They hugged when they met. Not the awkward side hug you give a coworker. A full-body hug. His hand lingered on her lower back. My throat went dry. They walked inside and were seated at a small table by the window. I followed a couple minutes later and sat one table away, just out of their line of sight. I could hear bits and pieces of their conversation. Laughter. Soft voices. Her saying, "You're so bad," while giggling. Him saying, "You bring this out in me." I almost threw up right there. Then I heard him say something that made my heart stop. "I wish I could just stay in this moment with you. Forever." He reached across the table and held her hand. That's when I stood up. I walked over to their table. Mark didn't see me until I was right in front of him. His face went white. I said, "Don't stop on my account." The woman blinked, totally confused. Then it clicked for her. She pulled her hand back like she'd been burned. Mark looked like a deer in headlights. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" he asked. I pulled out my phone. Opened the camera. Hit record. "Lunch with Your Favorite Secret, huh?" I said, loud enough for the people at the next table to hear. The woman stood up quickly, grabbed her purse, and said, "Oh my God," before bolting out of the restaurant. She didn't even wait for him. Mark sat there. Frozen. Everyone was staring. "You want to explain?" I asked. He said nothing. We didn't talk on the way home. I drove separately. When I got there, he was already sitting on the couch, head in his hands. I sat across from him. My voice was shaking, but I said, "Start talking." He finally said her name. Claire. She worked with him. They started talking more at work a few months ago. One thing led to another. Blah blah blah. I asked if they'd slept together. He nodded. My legs gave out, and I had to sit on the floor. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he said. "That's the line, right?" "That's always the line. I haven't told our kids yet. I don't even know what to say. I'm sleeping in the guest room." He offered to go to a hotel, but I told him no, he needs to be here and see the mess he made. We're not speaking much. I've gone through all the stages, crying, screaming, silence. I checked our phone records. There were hundreds of texts. Late night calls when I was asleep. He even sent her photos of our dog. Our dog. I found receipts. Gifts. A weekend trip to Milwaukee that I thought was a conference. He brought her into my life, into my memories, into our spaces. And he did it like it was nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Part of me wants to burn it all down. Another part is paralyzed. We have kids. A mortgage. A life. But the trust is gone. I'm not writing this for advice. I guess I just needed to say it out loud to someone. To anyone. If you've been through something like this, I'm sorry. It's the kind of pain that you don't understand until you're in it. 2 days after the restaurant incident, I got a text from a number I didn't know. It was short. I didn't know he was married. I'm sorry. It was Claire. At first, I didn't respond. I just stared at the screen. Then 5 minutes later, another message came. He said you were separated. That you were only living together because of the kids. I swear, Sarah. I wouldn't have done this if I knew. I felt my stomach turn. This wasn't just cheating. It was lies stacked on top of more lies. I responded. You had lunch in a public place with a man wearing a wedding ring. Her reply, he told me he wore it so you wouldn't get suspicious. That it was just temporary. At that point, I couldn't even be mad at her anymore. I don't know why. I think it's because I saw how deep his deception really went. That night, I confronted Mark again. He was sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll his phone like nothing was wrong. I didn't shout. I just said, she messaged me. He didn't even look surprised. She told me you said we were separated, I said. He rubbed his face and let out this long sigh like he was the one who was tired. I didn't think it would go that far, he said. I just needed something different. Different? I snapped. You destroyed 18 years because you were bored? He stood up, finally angry. Don't make it sound so simple. You checked out years ago. You haven't touched me in months. You care more about your job and the kids than me. I laughed. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. Yeah, Mark. I've been tired. From working 12-hour shifts and raising your kids. From picking up the slack while you're off playing house with someone new. He looked like he wanted to say something, but I didn't give him the chance. I walked out and slammed the door. The next day, I was packing up his things. I needed him out of the house, at least for a while. That's when I found it. A flash drive. In the back of his drawer. I wasn't looking for it. I just opened a drawer, and there it was. Out of instinct, I plugged it into my laptop. Inside was a folder labeled projects. I thought maybe it was work stuff. It wasn't. There were photos. Of her. Of them together. Selfies in hotel rooms. Her in lingerie. Him smiling like I hadn't seen in years. Dates listed. Voice messages. A video clip of them on a beach. Laughing. And worse, there were other names. Other photos. Other women. Claire wasn't the first. That night, I printed everything. Laid it all out on the kitchen table. When Mark came home, he stopped cold. I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at him. Who are they? I asked. Claire was just the one that got caught. How many, Mark? He didn't answer right away. Then finally, 3. 3. That I know of. He looked defeated. No more excuses. No more lies. He admitted to affairs going back 5 years. I didn't know how to stop, he said. It made me feel wanted. That was the last straw. I told him to pack his things and leave. He tried to cry. Tried to apologize. Said he wanted to fix it. But you can't glue shattered glass. But here's where it really spirals. Yesterday, Claire showed up. At my door. In person. I was stunned. She looked just as tired and broken as I felt. She said she wanted to tell me something I didn't know. Apparently, Mark told her he was going to leave me. That he was just waiting until after our daughter's graduation. He'd been stringing her along. Promising a future. They'd even looked at apartments together. She showed me texts. One of them was from the night before I caught them at lunch. It said, tomorrow, I'll tell her. Then it's just us. He was planning to tell me. Not about the cheating, about leaving. And he was only going to admit to one affair. The most recent one. Claire. He wanted a clean slate with her. Like the rest never existed. Claire was crying by the end of it. She said she felt like an idiot. That she wasn't going back to him. Then she handed me a small manila envelope. I found this in his briefcase, she said. I think you should have it. Inside were two things, a copy of a lease application for an apartment 2 blocks from her condo, and a typed letter. It was addressed to me. I haven't opened it yet. I've read the first line, and that's all I could manage. It says, Sarah, if you're reading this, I guess you know everything now. I don't know if I'm ready to read the rest. I don't know what's next. Everything I believed about my marriage is shattered. This man, the father of my kids, has been living a double life. Maybe even a triple life. Right now, I'm still here. In this house. Trying to figure out what comes next. And I have no idea what the rest of that letter will say. But I'll let you know when I do. I finally opened the letter 2 nights after Claire left it. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet. I sat at the kitchen table, the same place where I found out everything else, and read it. It started like some sappy apology. Sarah, if you're reading this, I guess you know everything now. I'm sorry. I never wanted it to end like this. Then he went on about how he felt invisible, how he lost himself over the years, how he never stopped loving me but didn't know how to be honest anymore. Blah blah blah. I was ready to throw the whole thing out. But the second page? That's where it changed. I need you to know there's more. I didn't plan to tell you this in person. Not yet. But if this all blows up, you deserve the full truth. I remember my hands started shaking. Because what could possibly be left? He continued, there's a bank account. One you don't know about. It's in my name only. I started putting money into it about 6 years ago. It started small, just side projects and freelance stuff. But then I started moving parts of my salary into it too. My stomach dropped. I didn't do it to hurt you. At first, it was just a safety net. Then it became something else. Something I was keeping for the future. Not just for me. For her. Claire. He listed the bank name, partial account number, and even the login he used. I sat there for over an hour just rereading it. Not even crying. Just stunned. The next morning, I went to the bank. I asked to speak with someone about the account. I had all the info from the letter. At first, they were hesitant, but once I said I was his wife and showed my ID and marriage license, they verified I was legally entitled to inquire, especially since we're in Illinois, a marital property state. The account had nearly $117,000 in it. Let that sink in. While I was working double shifts and worrying about our bills, this man was hiding a 6-figure stash to run off and play house with his mistress. I took a deep breath, nodded at the banker, and said, okay. I'd like to open a legal inquiry on this. She paused. Would you like to speak with our fraud division or your attorney first? My answer, both. Later that same day, I was at home scrolling through Mark's email. He forgot to log out of his Google account on the shared laptop. I didn't think I'd find much, he was too careful. But buried in his archived folder was a string of emails with someone named Leah. Another woman. Older messages, from about a year ago. And then I saw it. A photo. It was of a girl. Maybe 6 or 7 years old. Blonde curls. Big brown eyes. Subject line, she asked about you again. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The next message, a week later, I told her you're working a lot. She wants to meet her daddy soon. I swear I sat in silence for 20 minutes, just staring at the screen. I clicked through more emails. More pictures. A child's birthday party. A Christmas tree. A video of the little girl laughing while opening a gift. In the background, I could hear his voice. Mark. My husband has a child with another woman. I found her on Facebook. She's from Peoria, about 3 hours from Chicago. According to her page, she's a teacher. Single. No public mention of Mark. But the timeline matched. The messages dated back almost 7 years. And the little girl? Her name is Mira. I didn't message Leah. Not yet. I don't know what I'd even say. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. My husband didn't just cheat. He didn't just lie. He didn't just plan a future with one woman. He created an entire second life. Here's the kicker, I haven't told Mark about what I've learned. Not the money. Not the kid. I'm meeting with a divorce lawyer this week. Quietly. gathering all the documents, making copies, saving everything to a secure folder and USB. He thinks I'm still just heartbroken and angry. He doesn't know that I've gone completely numb. He also doesn't know I've spoken to Claire again. She came over again last night. She was calmer this time. Said she was going to therapy. That she was done with him for good. And then she told me something I didn't expect. He lied to me about his first kid too, she said. What do you mean? I asked. He told me he had 3 children. Not 2. Said he had a son with someone years before he met you. That the mother took him and left. But I've never seen any pictures. That makes 3 families. I don't even know if I've hit the bottom yet. There's no ending yet. I'm still in this. I'll post again after I talk to the lawyer. I don't know what's real anymore. But I know this, I'm not staying silent. I'm not protecting him. And I'm definitely not done. You said, continue the story up to the ending, build up to a major confrontation or revelation. This can be an explosive argument, a tearful confession, or a secret exposed in public. Let the tension peak. How do the characters react under this emotional stress? Who is hurt the most, and who is forced to face the truth? Immediate aftermath show the emotional fallout. Does someone storm out? Are there attempts to apologize, justify, or place blame? Reflect on the betrayal and its personal impact, guilt, sorrow, anger, or a strange sense of relief. Include any secondary characters who might comment, judge, or try to mediate. Resolution and reflection offer some form of closure or an open-ended future. Maybe the relationship ends, or maybe they try to rebuild trust. Have the narrator reflect on lessons learned or regrets. End with a statement that highlights the protagonist's mindset. Are they hopeful, desolate, or still unsure? ChatGPT said, final update, my husband's calendar had a meeting titled Lunch with My Favorite Secret. Hi Reddit. This will be my last update. I've taken some time to breathe, sort through the chaos, and now I'm ready to tell you how it all ended. So here it is, how it all came crashing down in one brutal night. How everything I thought I knew turned to dust. After finding out about the secret bank account and the child in Peoria, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. My lawyer said to keep my emotions in check and gather proof. So I did. Printed emails. Bank statements. Screenshots. Everything was labeled and stored. But I couldn't carry it anymore. Not quietly. So I invited Mark to dinner. I made his favorite, grilled salmon, mashed potatoes, green beans. Candles, music, the works. The kids were at my sister's for the night. I wanted privacy. He walked in, surprised. What's the occasion? He asked, smiling like nothing had happened. I smiled back. Closure. He didn't get it at first. We sat down. I let him eat a few bites. Then I slid the folder across the table. He looked at it, then at me. What's this? Everything, I said. Start with the bank account. He opened it slowly. His face went pale by the second page. He flipped through the documents faster, then stopped dead at the photos of Mira. He dropped the folder on the table. His voice cracked. You weren't supposed to, no? I cut in. No, I wasn't. But I do now. About the money. The other women. The child you made and kept hidden for 6 years. I know everything, Mark. He didn't deny it. Just covered his face with his hands and started crying. Real tears. I didn't want to lose everything, he said. You already did, I whispered. He stood up, pacing the room, ranting. I was drowning, Sarah. You were never around, always at work, always tired. I needed more. And I was too much of a coward to tell you. That's rich, I said. You didn't just cheat. You built a second life. You had a daughter. You were going to run away with Claire and start over. I didn't love them like I loved you, he shouted. That stopped me cold. No, I said, my voice shaking. You didn't love me. Because if you did, you wouldn't have done any of this. You don't get to love someone and destroy them at the same time. He sat back down, head in his hands. I wanted to fix this. I really did. I was going to end it with Claire. I didn't even talk to Leah anymore. Mira wasn't planned, I slammed my hand on the table. Stop trying to soften it. You were going to leave me, Mark. You wrote a letter. You had a plan. Silence filled the room. Then he said it, barely above a whisper, I didn't think you'd find out. And just like that, the last bit of hope died in me. I told him to pack a bag and leave. Tonight. That I'd be filing for divorce first thing in the morning. He didn't argue. He cried. But he didn't argue. My sister came over the next day. She hugged me for a long time and said, I never liked him. But I stayed quiet for you. Even Claire texted again. She said she hoped I'd find peace, that she'd cut off all contact with Mark. That she was going to therapy. The kids noticed the tension. I haven't told them everything yet, just that their dad made some bad choices and needs to live somewhere else for a while. When they're older, I'll tell them more. But not now. The hardest part wasn't losing the marriage. It was realizing I'd lost myself somewhere in it. For years, I bent over backward trying to be the glue. The nurse, the mom, the wife. I let my own needs rot at the bottom of the list. And while that doesn't excuse what Mark did, it's something I won't let happen again. I'm not the same woman who cried in a restaurant, phone shaking in my hand. I'm not even the same woman who found photos of another man's daughter and realized she had no idea who her husband really was. Now? I'm getting my own bank account. I'm going to therapy. I'm talking to a lawyer about how to protect my assets and make sure my kids are stable. I'm learning how to sit in silence without feeling like I'm about to break. I don't know what comes next. But I do know this, I'm finally choosing me.